20 squats. That's it. No equipment, no gym membership, takes maybe 90 seconds, and it might be doing more for your body than half the things people spend money on to stay healthy. Now, here's the thing. Before chairs existed, before we had couches and car seats and desk jobs, humans spent enormous amounts of time in a resting squat. It's how people ate meals, rested by the fire, waited around. Our joints and muscles evolved expecting that movement pattern to happen constantly, every single day. And now most of us do it, never. So when I say 20 squats a day sounds small, I actually mean the opposite. You're just returning to a baseline your body was built for. So today I want to walk through 9 things that happen inside your body when you do this, plus one bonus at the end. And this one's actually a real clinical test that doctors use, so stick around for that. Quick intro for anyone new here. I'm a physician, and I make these videos because I think people deserve to understand the why behind health advice, not just the what. Standard disclaimer. I'm not your doctor. This is general education, not personalized medical advice. So if you've got knee or joint issues, definitely loop in your own physician before starting anything new. Okay, mechanism first, because I think this actually makes everything else click. When you squat, you're asking several large muscle groups, quads, glutes, hamstrings, to contract under load at the same time. Think of it like flipping on a whole electrical grid instead of one light switch. That coordinated demand is what triggers most of the downstream benefits we're going to talk about. Point 1. Muscle fiber recruitment. The squat hits your quadriceps, glutes, and hamstrings simultaneously, which is fairly rare for a single movement. Research has shown that compound movements like this tend to produce more efficient strength gains than isolated exercises, typically noticeably more per minute spent. You know that feeling of your legs feeling activated after standing up from a low chair a bunch of times? That's this. Takeaway. You're getting more muscle stimulus per rep than almost any other simple movement. Point 2. Insulin sensitivity. When your muscles contract repeatedly, they pull glucose out of your bloodstream through a transporter called GLUT4. Think of it like opening extra doors so sugar can leave the blood and get into the muscle where it's needed. Studies suggest even small bouts of resistance movement, done consistently, can meaningfully improve how your body manages blood sugar over time. This is part of why a short walk or some squats after a big meal actually does something. Takeaway. 20 squats is a tiny lever on a pretty important metabolic system. Point 3. Bone density. Bone is living tissue, and it responds to mechanical stress by getting denser. Cells called osteoblasts basically read the load and reinforce the structure, kind of like a bridge adding support beams where the traffic is heaviest. Weight-bearing movement, like squats, is one of the more reliable ways to signal that. Takeaway. This is one of the few free things you can do for bone health, and it matters more as we get older. Point 4. Joint lubrication. Your knee joint has synovial fluid, and movement helps circulate it, a bit like working oil through an engine before a long drive. People with stiff joints often report they loosen up once they start moving. That's not just in your head. Takeaway. Gentle repeated squatting can actually reduce that first thing in the morning stiffness. Point 5. Balance and proprioception. Squatting trains your nervous system to sense joint position and adjust in real time, which is exactly the kind of thing that keeps people steady on their feet as they age. Takeaway. This is quietly one of the best fall prevention exercises there is. Point 6. Myokines. When muscles contract, they release signaling molecules called myokines. One of them, irisin, has been studied for its role in metabolism. Think of your muscle acting almost like a hormone gland in that moment. Takeaway. Exercise isn't just burning calories. It's your body sending chemical messages to itself. Point 7. Cardiovascular nudge. 20 squats will raise your heart rate briefly, which is a small, repeatable stimulus for your heart and blood vessels, similar to interval training in miniature. Takeaway. It's a modest but real cardiovascular signal, especially if you're otherwise sedentary. Point 8. Core stability. To keep your spine neutral through a squat, your deep core muscles have to switch on almost automatically. Takeaway. You're training core strength without ever doing a single crunch. Point 9. Mitochondrial function. Repeated muscle contraction is one of the stimuli that encourages your cells to build more mitochondria, your energy factories, essentially. Studies suggest this kind of low-grade repeated stimulus over weeks supports better energy metabolism at the cellular level. Takeaway: consistency here compounds in a very literal, cellular sense. Now, a quick watch-out section, because I think balance builds trust. First, deep squats aren't inherently dangerous for healthy knees, despite what you might have heard. That fear is mostly outdated. Second, doing hundreds of squats isn't necessarily better than 20 done well. Form and consistency matter more than volume. And third, I'll be honest, a lot of the research in this space is observational rather than tightly controlled, so we should hold these conclusions with some humility rather than as absolute fact. Okay, bonus round, and this is a fun one. There's an actual clinical tool called the 30-second sit-to-stand test, which doctors and physical therapists use, if I'm remembering it right, to assess lower body strength and fall risk in older adults. You basically count how many times someone can stand up from a chair without using their hands in 30 seconds. The mechanism is the same muscle recruitment we talked about earlier: quads, glutes, hamstrings, working together. Takeaway: if you want a rough, at-home gauge of your own legs' strength and functional fitness, that test is a pretty solid one to try. I hope this was helpful. Stay healthy, and I'll see you in the next one.